I didn't smash the keyboard. I didn't throw my coffee mug at the wall. I didn't even raise my voice. When the red critical failure alert started flashing across all 12 monitors in the network operations center, bathing the room in a strobe light nightmare of crimson panic, I just sat there. I took a sip of my lukewarm espresso. I watched the numbers drop. Johnny, do something. The dashboard is dead. We've lost connection to the West Coast grid. That was Anna. Anna was 26. She had a degree in digital synergies, or something equally useless from a university I'd never heard of. She had been hired 4 months ago as the lead system strategist. I was the senior network architect. I had built this grid. Every line of code, every redundancy protocol, every backdoor override, I wrote it. I spent 7 years missing birthdays, anniversaries, and sleep to make sure this company, Apex Global, could trade billions in assets without a millisecond of latency. I can't access the root, Anna screamed, her voice shrill, cracking under the pressure. She was hammering keys like a toddler playing a piano. Johnny, why isn't the failover working? You said the failover was automatic. I spun my chair around slowly. The failover is automatic, Anna, I said, my voice terrifyingly calm. If the command syntax is maintained, did you push the update I told you not to touch? I optimized the header files, she yelled, sweat beading on her forehead, ruining her perfect foundation. It was supposed to increase efficiency by 0.4%. Just fix it. Fix it, I repeated. I looked down at the piece of paper sitting on my desk. I had found it 30 minutes ago, left in the communal printer tray. It was a payroll authorization form. Employee, Anna Sterling. Role, lead systems strategist. Performance bonus, $80,000. Reason, innovative approach to workflow optimization. Beneath it was my own envelope, handed to me by HR that morning. Inside was a generic thank you card and a $50 gift voucher for a steakhouse that closed down 6 months ago. 7 years. I hadn't taken a vacation since 2019. I had saved them $10 million last quarter by patching a security flaw they didn't even know existed, and Anna, who thought Python was just a snake, got 80 grand for breaking the system I built. Johnny, we are losing $2 million a minute, Anna shrieked. She grabbed my shoulder. I brushed her hand off like it was a bug. Actually, I said, checking my watch, based on current trading volume, it's closer to 2.5 million, and it's going to get worse. I stood up. I reached under my desk and grabbed my backpack. I slid my laptop in. I zipped it up. The sound was the loudest thing in the room, cutting through the screaming sirens of the server alarms. Where are you going? Anna's eyes were wide, white circles of pure terror. You can't leave. We're in a code red. You're in a code red, I corrected. I'm on vacation. I walked toward the security doors. Johnny, stop. I'm ordering you to sit down. I didn't look back. I walked out of the Anos, swipe carded through the turnstile, and dropped my badge into the security guard's trash can on the way out. Have a good night, Earl, I told the guard. You too, Johnny, Earl grunted, not looking up from his crossword. I walked into the parking lot. The cool night air hit my face. It smelled like rain and freedom. My phone buzzed in my pocket, once, twice, 10 times. I pulled it out. Incoming. Call, Director Vance. Vance was the VP of Operations, the man who signed Anna's bonus check, the man who told me last week that budget constraints meant I couldn't get a raise this year. I looked at the screen, I swiped power off. I got in my car, drove home, and packed a bag. Not a work bag, a fishing bag. I threw in my tackle box, a tent, and a cooler full of beer. I drove 4 hours north, into the mountains, to a cabin that didn't have Wi-Fi, didn't have cell service, and definitely didn't have Anna. I stayed there for a week, 7 days. I fished. I drank beer on the porch watching the sun go down over the lake. I grilled steaks. I slept for 12 hours a night. For the first time in a decade, my blood pressure wasn't sitting in the stroke zone. I didn't know what was happening back at Apex. I didn't care, but I could guess. The system I built was a beast. It was brilliant, but it was temperamental. It needed a specific sequence of handshake protocols to recover from a crash. If you tried to force it, which I knew Anna would, it would lock down. It would encrypt the database to protect the core assets. It was a dead man's switch, and I was the only one with the key. On the morning of the 8th day, I drove back down the mountain. As soon as I hit the highway, my phone connected to a tower. It nearly vibrated out of the cup holder. 147 missed calls, 86 voicemails, 300 plus emails. I didn't check them. I turned the radio on. Entering day 7 of the catastrophic outage at Apex Global, the news anchor was saying. Stock value has plummeted 60%. Shareholders are filing a class action lawsuit. The CEO has issued a public apology, but rumors are swirling that the data might be irretrievable. I smiled. 60%. That was billions. I pulled into my driveway. There were 3 black SUVs parked on my lawn, not on the street, on the grass. A man in a suit was sitting on my porch steps. It was Vance. He looked like he had aged 20 years in a week. His tie was undone, his shirt was stained, and he had dark circles under his eyes that looked like bruises. Beside him sat Anna. She wasn't screaming anymore. She was just staring at the ground, looking small and defeated. I put the truck in park, got out, and grabbed my cooler. "Nice day," I said, walking past them toward my front door. "Johnny," Vance croaked. His voice was gone. "Thank God. Where have you been? We called the police. We thought you were dead." "Camping," I said, unlocking the door. "Fish were biting." I walked inside. They followed me uninvited. The house smelled a bit musty, but it was better than the smell of desperation coming off Vance. "You have to fix it," Vance said. No preamble, no hello. "The backups are corrupted." Anna tried to restore from the mirrored drive and she wiped the encryption keys, I finished, putting a beer in the fridge. "I know. That's what happens when you run a force override on a level 5 security architecture. I put that safeguard in specifically to stop hackers, or idiots." Anna flinched. "We need the code, Johnny," Vance said. He was shaking. "We need the manual restoration sequence. The board is meeting in 2 hours. If the system isn't up by then, they're dissolving the company." Chapter 11. Everyone loses their jobs. Earl the security guard, the janitors, everyone. "That's tragic," I said. "Maybe Anna can innovate a solution." "Stop it," Vance snapped. "This isn't a game. We are bleeding out. What do you want? You want a raise? Fine. 20%. Effective immediately. Just give us the keyboard." I laughed. It was a loud, sharp sound that made them both jump. 20%? I leaned against the kitchen counter. "Vance, you paid this girl $80,000 to destroy your company. You paid me a $50 steak voucher to maintain it." Vance's face went pale. "You saw the payroll slip." "I saw it. I saw the value you placed on loyalty versus synergy." "That was a mistake," Vance stammered. We were trying to encourage new talent." "Well, you encouraged her," I said. "She certainly made an impact." I opened a beer. "I'm not an employee anymore, Vance. I quit. I don't work for Apex." "Then I'm hiring you back," Vance yelled. "Double your salary, triple it." "No. What do you want, Johnny? Name it." I took a long sip of beer. I looked at Anna, who was trembling, tears silently streaming down her face. Then I looked at Vance. "I'm a consultant now," I said. "High-end, very exclusive." "Fine, we'll hire you as a consultant." "My rate is unusual," I said. "We'll pay it. Anything." $150,000, I said. Vance blinked. "A year? That's an hour," I cut him off. $150,000 per hour, minimum 4 hours billable, paid up front, wire transfer, before I touch a single key. The silence in the kitchen was heavy enough to crush a man. That's $600,000, Vance whispered. "For an afternoon's work, that's extortion." "No," I said calmly. "Extortion is forcing me to work 80-hour weeks for 5 years and then spitting in my face. This is the free market, Vance. Supply and demand. You have a demand a broken system losing you millions every hour. I have the supply, the knowledge to fix it." I checked my watch. "Tick-tock, Vance. The board meeting is in 90 minutes. How long does a wire transfer take?" Vance stared at me. He looked at Anna. She just shook her head, hopeless. He looked at his phone, watching the stock ticker continue its freefall. "I can't authorize that amount," he whispered. "I need the CEO." "Call him." He dialed. He put it on speaker. "Sterling," a gruff voice answered. "Sir, it's Vance. I found him. He's demanding a consulting fee." "Pay him," Sterling growled. "I don't care what it is. Just get the damn lights back on." "He wants $600,000, sir. Up front." There was a pause on the line, a long, static-filled pause. "Is he drunk?" Sterling asked. "He's serious, sir. He says it's his rate." "Pay him," Sterling said. The fight was gone from his voice. "Just pay him." The line went dead. Vance looked at me with pure hatred. "Give me your account details." I wrote them on a napkin. 10 minutes later, my phone chimed. I checked the banking app. Deposit, $600,000 status. Cleared. "Let's go," I said. I didn't ride in their SUVs. I drove my own truck. We drove to the office in silence. The building was chaos. People were running around with stacks of paper, screaming into phones. It looked like the fall of Rome, managed by middle management. We walked into the Enoch. The red lights were still flashing. The air conditioning was working overtime to cool the overheated, confused servers. I sat down at my old desk. It was exactly as I had left it. The dust had settled on the monitor stand. "You have 4 hours," Vance said, checking his watch. Fix it. I don't need 4 hours, I said. I cracked my knuckles. I pulled the keyboard closer. I opened the command terminal. The cursor blinked at me, a rhythmic pulse. I typed 3 lines of code. Sudo access root, .override exec. Rollback checkpoint, yes alpha 7, auth, Johnny, omega, key. I hit enter. The screen paused. The red flashing stopped. A loading bar appeared, restoring system architecture. 10%, 40%. I stood up. What are you doing? Anna gasped. You just sat down. It takes about 15 minutes for the script to propagate, I said, putting my hands in my pockets. It's done. You typed 3 lines, Vance stammered. His face was turning a dangerous shade of purple. You typed 3 lines of code. We paid you $600,000 for 3 lines of code? I turned to face him. I looked him dead in the eye. You didn't pay me for the lines of code, Vance. You paid me for the 7 years I spent learning which lines to write. You paid me for the nights I slept under this desk. You paid me for the weekends I missed with my family. I pointed at the screen. The loading bar hit 100%. The monitors flickered, and then, one by one, they turned green. The soothing hum of the cooling fans settled down. The phone started ringing with calls from relieved warehouse managers instead of angry clients. And mostly, I added, leaning in close, you paid me an inconvenience fee for having to deal with Anna. I walked past him. You're banned from the building, Vance screamed after me. If you ever set foot here again, I'll have you arrested for trespassing. Don't worry, I called back over my shoulder. I can afford to retire now, or at least take a really long vacation. I walked out into the sunlight. I didn't retire, of course. I was too young for that. But I didn't work for anyone else ever again. I used the money to start my own firm, a specialized consultancy for disaster recovery. 6 months later, I read in the trade journals that Apex Global had posted their worst quarterly loss in history. Vance had been let go. Anna had been transferred to a satellite office in North Dakota to manage inventory for a warehouse that handled road salt. A year after that, I got an email. It was from a recruiter. Apex Global is looking for a chief technology officer. Your profile came up as a perfect match for their legacy systems. Would you be interested in a chat? I looked at the email. I looked at the framed napkin with my bank account number on it that hung on my office wall. I hit reply. My rate has gone up. It's now $300,000 an hour. They didn't write back, but that's okay. I was going fishing again anyway.